Okay, do I have a motion to open the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we just have one quick thing. This is a public hearing on the budget, but I do have one quick agenda item to add, which is acknowledging that we got notice for a liquor license for the Mexican restaurant out by Route 299. And so we'll take action that we acknowledge that we got it and whatever we have to do. So I'd just like to add that to the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Okay, so we are opening up the public hearing on the 2015 Town's preliminary budget. Is there anybody here who would like to speak on behalf of the 2015 Town budget? Okay. What would the board like to do? Does the board want to speak about the budget, or you want to close the public hearing and then we'll...
Just close the public.
Okay. Do I have a motion to, seeing that there is nobody here tonight, to speak on behalf of the town budget, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion so carried. Do you want to just have a quick, there's a couple things on the budget, but we'll do this at the next meeting, not tonight, unless you guys want to. But there was, Chris had, let me step back, I'm sorry. You might all know that this year, Chris wasn't able to actually pick up the leaves the way he did with the machine, and people were asked to bag their leaves, and then they would pick up the bags, unlimited, but they'd pick up the bags and stuff. And the machine that we were using, I guess, between the leaves and the rocks, they broke the machine and broke the engine, and so he didn't have the equipment to do it. And he was going to try to stop doing it because nobody else does this kind of leaf pickup, but there has been an awful lot of complaints. And he found a piece of equipment. He did say he'd be here tonight to talk about it, but unfortunately, both his parents are sick, and so I'm sure he couldn't make it, even though he said he'd try to come. So it was a vac truck that he found that could actually do ditching and some other things, plus do the leaf pickup. So he asked, it's $95,000, and he asked if I could add it to the budget. So I asked him to please try to see through his budget what he could take out, because that's a lot of money for us to add at this point to the budget when we're using, when we're at where we're at. And so he did say to take out this new mower, and he thought that he'd be able to get through a year without it, and he could fix it. And he said to take out the skid steer attachment, which he said he didn't think he would have to have. But Laura, you're asking us to approve a bid for the skid steer, right? So I gather if Chris needed one, he could always borrow yours if we get your skid steer, right, and stuff. So we would have to come up with another $17,500 to be able to buy this piece of equipment. We don't have to take action tonight. We can wait until possibly when Chris is here, because I'd like to talk to him and see if we can even find the other $17,500 to take out. But I want to be assured that he can, operate the way he's operating, which I think he has, and he told me he could. But I'd like to see if there's another way we can find the $17,500. So we don't have to take any action. I just want to point that out. Okay. And then we have the rescue squad, who had asked last year, if everybody remembers, they had wanted to put on a new full-time medic on the second ambulance that they're running, and we were asked to come up with 50 grand. Last year we were able to get the village board to pay 25, and we put 25 in our B fund. So we have 150 in our A fund, which for you guys, the A fund is the town-wide budget, which is everybody in the town, including the village, gets billed the A fund tax, and then the B fund is just for the town outside the village. So the planning and zoning and the building inspector are the town outside the village, because the village government has their own building inspector, planning board, and zoning board. And so we took the 25,000 and put it into the B fund. This year they need that 50 grand to keep going with the medic and whatever. I had a long talk with them. Because the village has yet to pay the $25,000, they said that they could build the village, get that money, use that money this year, and then if we could come up with the other $25,000, that would basically help them with the budget that they have. So I did put in 175 originally. I was asked to take it out. I did take it out, but I had a long talk today with Ted Reese, and he was going to come to the public hearing, but after our conversation, he said he wouldn't come. And so we have to talk about putting that other $25,000 back in, which we could do if we decide to do it, and take it out of that $273,000 that we talked about adding back in based on the allowable rate that we can go up under the cap. So I do know, Kevin, that you want to ask them to do some things relative to writing letters to the college and stuff. So we can either discuss it now, invite them to come meet with us, however you guys want to.
Did he give you the updated numbers?
He was supposed to send it to me this afternoon. I know he had to go somewhere this morning, but so he said he would try to get to me. So what he was supposed to do is get me the breakdown again between the town, the village, and the college, which he said up in 2014 up till now, it's about 13% of the calls into the college, based on the split between the thruway, the college, the village, and the town. But he'll get me those numbers, and I asked him to get me 2013 also.
Okay.
I also asked him, I know that the college gives the rescue squad fuel, so I asked him to quantify how much fuel they get, what their fuel budget is, so we can see what percentage it is, which he said was about 80%, but it's about $18,000. So how that $18,000 equates to the percentage of calls that go to the college, I don't know. So he was going to get me the stuff, but I didn't get it before I came tonight, so I will be getting it from him now.
All right. We need to have them prepare a letter to the college explaining how their services benefit the college, and have them ask the college to contribute based upon their use.
Which I told them today that was going to be requested, and they said whatever we request. But I'd like you to sort of help draft what you want them to request, and then they'll go ahead and do it.
I think also what's missing here, though, is there are quite a few pieces missing. One is the agreement also is that the addition of the additional paramedic would also generate a higher rate of income. There is a tremendous difference between the emergency service provided by the rescue squad and any other services provided in this community, period. And the reason I can say period at the end of that is because they are the only service that provides a needed component to a community our size. They're also able to generate revenue through billing, which I have a pretty good understanding of. I haven't been able to talk to Gene about it in a while, but Gene and I had discussions on it. There is substantial billing they're able to do. There's also billing. They actually have to also bill people when they're covered by insurance, so they get receivables through insurance. They're also able to then also capture the funds that your insurance doesn't cover. And in fact, with a lot of their agreements, you really have to go out and bill those to the people. So you're not allowed to just send a bill to someone and I send a bill to you and you pay it. They send one to me and I don't pay it. Under your agreements with insurance companies, you have to recover the funds. You have to attempt to collect all of your monies due to you. They also have a very robust balance. The balance has not been ever fully explained to us. I know there was some discussions of getting back to us. I know they changed their business managers. It was $25,000. In general, you're looking, it's safe to say you can take 10%, Evan, if you have a large amount of money sitting that is trying to control a non-for-profit. You can spend down about 10%, 5% a year, assuming it also grows at 5% or 10% a year.
Easily. For operations.
For operations. So they do have quite a substantial fund balance also, a very substantial fund balance that also can be used and could safely be spent. So I believe that there's a lot of things unanswered. I think putting $25,000 at it does not really answer a lot of the questions that this board had last year, the village board had last year, and Rescue Squad was going to get back to us on. I fully understand Ted when he says, look, I don't do budgets, and he does do emergency services. I agree to that. But as the president of the Rescue Squad, he does need to do budgets and have an understanding of that, and also be able to explain very clearly to us in the community how it is that they carry a very large fund balance, what part they're looking to be spent, what type of revenue is generated, the addition of the paramedic, the addition of another fly car for the paramedic, what type of revenues are these generating. The other thing I find interesting is that also they're allowed to, under law, to do fundraising. There has been no substantial fundraising done by the rescue squad in many, many years, and those are also very effective. I know our fire department does fundraising, and they're very effective. And fundraising can be, as, and I don't want to use the term simple, like it's easy, but a direct mailing piece for which our community can then send in money. They do get a lot of donations, and I do know they had a golf tournament. The way that again, the fire department did is they do a mailing, which I know I send in a check, and I'm sure many of you send in checks when you get the mailing from it. We haven't gotten that in many, many years. In fact, looking at their old tax filings, they have not had a fundraiser, again, in a long, long time. I think that's another way they could generate. The other big piece is that it is a competitive business. The part of the competition they have in this area, for the most part, is mobile life support. The town of Lloyd uses them for the most part exclusively. So when they're in the town, if you're in the town of Lloyd, you no longer have a volunteer service, or Highland, you have Mobile Life, and they run that as an actual business. The addition of having another paramedic was supposed to increase their revenues, because now the competition, so to speak,
doesn't have to cover a call.
Doesn't have to cover a call. So this addition was going to generate greater revenues, because the billing out would should exceed the cost of having another paramedic. So I appreciate you sitting down with Ted and talking with them, but I think there really needs to be a sitting down with their fiscal committee. I'd really like to see an audit. I know we've asked for an audit, and what they provided were the same tax forms that you get online off of GuideStar, which is what all nonprofits have to file with. And that is not an audit. That is simply a statement of what has been provided to, and in their case has been provided to Foster and Schmalcook, and then it is simply put out. Foster and Schmalcook is simply certifying this is the information they were given. It is not a complete audit of the book. So I would really like to see an audit of all of their books, to see what their actual balances are, to see where they have been, where they're going, and what their plans are for, going forward.
You want to say something, Kevin?
Yeah, just to add to what Jeff was saying. And then there are some calls that do not generate any revenue for them.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are other calls that generate a significant amount of revenue for them. So for example, I believe they were saying that when they're called to the college, oftentimes the students won't get into the ambulance, so there's no billable event, even though they're dispatched and their resources are being deployed to the college. It ends up being a zero.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have calls that are generating revenue, and then you have calls that aren't. So, even though 13% may be going there, their loss on that 13% will be probably much higher than 13%.
Didn't we figure out that it was like $125 a call or something like
Well,
that?
that's yes and no. You mean the dollar value we came up with was very, very simple and not fair to anyone. We simply just took what their budget is and divided it by the number of calls. So to Kevin's point is, let's just say, for every one call you make to the university, there may be 2 calls that end up with a non-billable event, because if nothing occurs, you can't bill someone. If someone refuses to transfer, it's a non-billable event. The upside is that when they do transfer, they do have insurance, because they live on campus. You do have to have insurance. As the calls they make out to Woodland Ponds, everyone out there is required as part of their contract to have insurance. So there is a lot of substantial insurance billing, and that could be a piece too that needs to be looked at. So I think I really would like. I feel much more comfortable. I completely appreciate it is a tremendous value that we have here with the rescue squad. If we had to sign a contract for the same 24/7 coverage, it absolutely would be much more than what we're paying.
I know. Paul
I absolutely agree to that. Yeah, and like I said, you could talk to
Paul told us when the other night you weren't able to be here, but when he came to speak with us, he told us that they paid $220,000 for Mobile Life to do the ambulance for them.
And that's not 24/7. It's actually, but they're fortunate that Mobile Life does rent a space on 299, so very often they are there. But I believe that $250,000 is not a guarantee at all of the coverage. But again, for the amount of equipment they keep there, the $250,000 doesn't cover what it is because Mobile Life does understand the amount of billing they're going to get. It's a business decision for them to be there. So the $250,000 is saying, okay, here's what we think we're going to need. And I'm sure if we talk to Paul, it's a negotiable number. I'm sure the next contracts, they'll sit down and they'll talk about what they brought in and what they spent. But it absolutely is a tremendous value. What the rescue squad does, I think we really do need to see though is that their amount of paid employees has grown pretty substantially over the last few years.
No, I think they only went from 1 to 2.
No, I think.
No, they have a top. I apologize, I did not bring my file or discuss this, but there is 5 or 7. There's about 5 paid EMTs. There's 7 or 9 paid paramedics. You have a paid business manager. You have a paid.
Do you have that much paid staff at this point?
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah, I apologize. I didn't bring my file with me, but yeah,
well, that's okay.
It's pretty substantial.
I did speak to Ted about the reserve that they have because I know that when you and Kevin went and looked last time, and he said that they work with outside auditors, and that reserve they have for whether it's buying a new ambulance or doing a new building or whatever. What I think they're really asking for is he was going to come tonight to make a statement during the public hearing, but he's, because I did talk to him and said I would bring certain things up to the board, but what they want is the opportunity to at least come talk to us, and then we could ask the questions and all this. Now, I can still call him tomorrow and, tell him, some of the concerns that were asked tonight and whatever. But in fairness, they want to come speak with us. I said, look, you don't have to come to the public hearing tonight. Let me talk to the board. And we were going to say, if you remember correctly, we had said when I first presented the budget, that I was going to have them come to the next week's meeting. But then I was asked not to have them come until we sort of had an internal discussion. But we've yet to have it, and the budget's due November 20th, and they need to have a sense. So we technically...
Have they asked the college for more fuel?
No, they won't for more fuel. I don't think they've asked the college for anything more than the college gets. However, they are prepared to ask the college for whatever we ask them to do.
Good.
Okay? The only question is I don't believe that the college will give them an answer or can give them an answer before November 20th. Because there's probably, the college is a state institution and there's probably stuff they have to do. I just don't know if we could go say, well, we want the college to reimburse us for the costs to the campus that the ambulance, incurs, and we want them to get paid for whatever their like, for example, I think it's about $18,000 worth of fuel. Well, last year, $18,000 worth of fuel bought X amount. This year, if it stays at $250, it's gonna buy a lot more. They should just basically give the ambulance whatever fuel they need to operate, And so, but those kind of things I think will take a little bit of time to work out. So the question I just have for the board is, technically we have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, because we've just scheduled meetings. Okay, we have our workshop next Thursday.
No.
We don't have a meeting tomorrow?
We couldn't schedule anything for tomorrow because there's a party booked here.
So we couldn't, so
we
we ended up never booking it.
Well,
Okay, I didn't realize, I forgot that.
We had the public hearing tonight.
Tonight, okay, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Okay, so I still had it on my calendar because I booked off every Thursday. So next Thursday, we have our workshop. We could try to keep that limited. We then don't have a meeting the following Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. But,
No, our workshop isn't until the 20th.
Oh, it's not until the 20th, okay.
We don't have a meeting next week.
Okay, so we could schedule a meeting next week if we want. If the board wants, schedule it next week, ask the rescue squad to come. Sure. At that point, we can then also, maybe Chris will be able to come here and tell us, what he's thinking about this piece of equipment. I can, at that point, modify the budget a little bit too. I did look at the village budget, and it does look like the village does have money that they put into the Walkill Valley Rail Trail, so I have to move the money that we have, the $1,000 into the B fund. I have to take down the cost for the municipal insurance. I haven't done because technically our public hearing is on the preliminary budget, and the preliminary budget was submitted to the county based on the tentative budget. So I can make those few changes. We can next Thursday invite the rescue squad to come.
We can also make the changes, though, and not change the budget. We can find the money somewhere else in the budget.
Right, and also simultaneously, at that point, we'll also hopefully, again, have a tabulation of where we are with our expenditures and our revenues, so we'll have a better sense of where we're going forward with, the fund balance. And then, while I don't believe that there's any chance that we're going to be getting money back from police retirement. I don't believe that there's a mistake, because I know last year we double-checked and double-checked and double-checked, because I couldn't believe the number was 160,000 when it had been 600,000 the year before. And I kept calling and saying, look, you've got to confirm this for me, because if I put a budget in with 160 and then all of a sudden we get a bill for 400, we don't have the money. So what this is in regards to, as our police retirement went up $250,000, $250,000. Our police chief was at a number of conferences where all the chiefs talked about their police retirement actually staying the same or going down. And so the chief said something to me, and I had told him that when there was an event here last week with DiNapoli, our controller, that he spoke about retirement staying even, and I went over to him afterwards and said, well, our police retirement went up $250,000. So he gave us the name of somebody specific in Albany who deals directly with this, that it was second in command, and asked for us to call that person to confirm. So the chief called. I asked the chief to call because I said, you understand how many officers we have on Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3. You can answer the specifics. So he called, and what they said was we actually had a credit of $200,000, that we had actually overpaid one year, and we had a credit. I was never told that. It doesn't make sense. What makes sense is because we went down to 160 from like 400 or 500, that would make sense that we had a credit, but they never said it when I called and went over the numbers. So Arlene, our bookkeeper, is pulling all the past years' police retirement. And remember, we get an estimate, and then we actually budget on the estimate, but then we get a bill. So it is a little cockamamie, but so we're going to go back and pull all of the past couple of years so we can try to get a handle. Unfortunately, I don't expect for us to find out that, oh my God, we're going to get $200,000 back. I think it's going to be what it is, but we're going to keep checking.
Okay.
And so maybe we'll have that answer by next week too. So if we do the meeting next week, then we could sort of deal with a bunch of this little stuff, because the budget is due on the 20th.
Okay.
So if that's okay with everybody?
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, if we're going to generate a letter, we probably should generate one also out to Woodland Ponds. Because that pilot agreement with
Absolutely.
the rescue squad is not coming up for another, we're in 2014, so I believe it's 2016 or 18.
Well, no, what happens is in
For-
2016 is when the town gets the police car. But the pilot goes longer.
I thought they got 150,000.
No,
The rescue squad gets
150,000. The rescue squad was supposed to get money for a new ambulance, $150,000.
Which it
It's not
doesn't
gonna, they're not gonna cover a new
It doesn't buy a
ambulance.
new ambulance at all, unfortunately.
and
So,
then-
but I think we knew, because their pilot, if you go back and read, actually, if you go back and read their, economic impacts, the EIS, or the part of the environmental impact statement that has the fiscal impact statement in it, it does say that they are looking at maybe 2 or 4 calls a month, and it's turning into 2 to 4 calls a week. Actually, sometimes it's exceeded. They had a month where they had, I believe, 28 calls in a single month after.
What I would like-
So I think,
I'll do the letter with you, all right?
I would absolutely do a letter with you.
Well,
Because I
honestly,
think
what I would
Woodland
like
Pond
to
should really
do-
be contributing, they should be contributing actual hard dollars to the rescue squad.
Well, not only that, I think it goes beyond that, from the perspective of when the Woodland Pond pilot was negotiated before any of our time. I don't even know if you were on the board at the time. When that was negotiated, they gave the fire department some money. They took care of the rescue squad, technically, and then they said, okay, in 2016 we'll give the police money for a car. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
However, because the police are first responders, every time there's a call to Woodland Pond for the ambulance, our police go. So it was never, honestly, there was never a balance in terms of what the cost of the police would be. So what I think has to be done is, honestly, is we have to get on top of the expenses to our police department and the expenses to the rescue squad, and then I think we have to go to the Ulster County IDA. And I think we have to actually, and Woodland Pond, and I think we have to have a meeting with them where we say, you need to reopen this pilot, and we need to re-talk about it. But I think it's going to be the Ulster County IDA
We
who's
have a
got
good
it.
relationship with them.
We have a great
We do.
relationship with them.
Does
We
that
know them all
work?
by first name.
Does that work at all with the clawback provisions? Do you know, is that
Well, the thing
in
is,
the clawbacks?
well, the thing with the clawback, though, is they probably ended up creating the number of jobs that they said they'd create. I would suspect Woodland Pond did create jobs, it's
I don't
probably,
know. Yeah, I
but
know
so I don't think the
clawback
clawback is from, because usually
not
it's because of
jobs.
job
It's only
creation.
jobs.
Usually it's job creation. I just think that what ended up happening is, this is one of these cases where this is a perfect example of what is happened with us with Woodland, with Wilmerite, where the IDA is not obligated to do their own study on the impact to a community, and so they're making decisions for a community without doing a study.
Without
So they
quantifying
never
the
quantified
cost.
the cost to the community for Woodland Pond, and the IDA never quantified the cost, and then they gave a pilot. And so I think we need to go back to them to say, look, it's 10 years later, whatever, however long, we love Woodland Pond, we're really happy to hear it, but there's an impact to our community, and there's got to be negotiations that are able to get reopened, and I think that's what we have to do. So I think it's more than a letter.
Speaking of IDAs, at our last meeting, we talked about having the comptroller come
Oh,
to
that's
do a
right.
presentation, and I have some dates for you
Oh, okay, great.
that we
Why
can
don't we,
look out.
well,
This one I think is too soon. I've got November 10th. Well, I'm sorry, what?
What Thursday?
I don't think any of these are Thursdays. I tried to get them a Thursday. But
November,
yeah, November 10th at 6:30.
give me a second.
Sure, take your time.
See, anybody want to?
I'm good.
Let me wait, but let me just have to turn my phone because
Okay.
that's
We
where
were
my
going to meet,
calendar
I
is.
see, Thursday the 13th, but we'd also, if we're going to meet here, it would also be at the mercy of the calendar that I
Yeah.
believe Rosanna also
Yeah, I
has
know,
in front
that's-
of her also.
Do you have the community center calendar now also? Okay, good.
Come.
Okay, so just give me a second because I
What's
turned my.
happening Monday the 10th?
Well, the planning board meeting is canceled, so
Oh, that's
it's
perfect.
available.
Okay, I mean, I have other dates too. We could just.
Well, let me
do
just
that
check. If the 10th is fine, let's get him down sooner than later.
then. It's fine by me.
I know that he won re-election and he's probably in a good mood.
What?
Now that he won re-election, he's probably in a good mood.
He wasn't on the ballot this year.
DiNapoli?
No,
this is
Elliot. Our-
Oh, we're bringing in,
County, not
oh,
state.
oh, I'm sorry.
Not state.
We're
county.
having Elliot come in and present his, okay. I'm sorry. I thought we were bringing, in my mind, we were bringing in
Say,
DiNapoli.
Dan's got some good power, we can get that.
Yeah, I've been texting DiNapoli all day.
Hey, Monopoly, shoot on down here in the 10th. Come on, Stan, Newport, remember me? You got a state to run, what do you
Oh, boy,
care?
yes.
Come on.
Jeez, boy, I really, I jump up a couple of levels, don't I?
Yeah.
I like to talk to the big guys. Okay, the 10th.
Okay.
Give me a second, I'm just trying to. Well, the 10th is free, so you want to book the 10th?
What are the other dates that you had, Dan?
Well, why don't we, because the 10th is.
No, but I
Monday's
can
not
get
good
here
for
by
you.
7 though. I can be here a half hour later.
Well, I've got a few of them. So we've got November 19th, the 24th, and the
Wait a
20th.
second,
Oh,
you're
sure.
going. So the 19th is a Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, so that would be at
Wait,
6:30 as
wait,
well.
Hold on, is there anything here?
HPC is here at 7:30,
Well, they could always meet in the
You
small
can meet at
room.
7.
unless we split the room in half.
Which we could, but they could also meet in the small room, they're not
Yeah,
that big.
they don't get an audience. And then there's the 24th at 7.
That's planning board.
That's planning board. And then this I think's pretty late. 25th at 8:30.
Well, the
Good idea.
19th, if we do it the 19th, that works for Jeff because he's off in the he gets off
I'm off
early
next
on Wednesday. So if that's better, we could do it the 19th versus doing it on Monday when you would have to get here late.
Either one, I'm good with
Is
either one.
everybody okay? You wanna
I'll
do-
go with the whim of the board, I'm good with either one.
Okay, so you want to do Wednesday the 19th?
Sounds good.
Okay,
So I will let him
It's
know.
Wednesday 19th and it's at 6:30?
At 6:30 is when
Okay.
he'd be available to come.
Okay, so let's book Elliot.
I'll ask if he can bring Tom DiNapoli though.
Oh, please.
I make no promises.
No, no, we want,
Uh,
it would be good if he could.
Finance guy on sales tax down, Mr. Burton.
Mhm.
I don't think it's Mr. Burton who makes the decision about, but if you want to talk about it, we can.
Well, actually, I
Please,
think
I'm having a
that.
hard time spelling our back.
Yes. Actually, because we did talk about it last time, do we want to pick a meeting to formally invite our county legislators? Or rather, maybe we should just ask them when they could come instead of doing that publicly.
All right,
So is that okay? I mean, if you want, I can reach out to them.
why don't you do that?
Okay.
All right?
So I think we also need to discuss,
I did not spell our back. That's really
I
good.
think we also, because if we're going to have a legislature, I'd also like to discuss with them,
Yeah, it might be other stuff too.
yeah,
Chester notion?
the Chester and also what George distributed to us about the possibility
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
hopefully you understood some of that better than I did,
Okay.
doing something about with the IDA and maybe even
Right,
some changes of rules, which I think we can do at the county level,
enacting legislation there.
at the county level,
Right.
not at the state level, because that's already been vetoed. And then maybe sending something up to the state level, then let it get vetoed again to see if we can kind of keep the conversation going.
There you go.
Okay.
Although with it not being an election for a couple of years, he won't veto it next time.
I'm always surprised at what gets vetoed and what doesn't, or rather how long it takes for certain bills to get signed. I'm not sure how those decisions are made.
Depends on how politically convenient they are to get signed sooner versus later.
I think that's quite possible.
Just as a quick update on the finance, Director of Finance Administration, we did send it up to civil service because the goal is to make it a civil service position so it's not, doesn't become a political position for a supervisor to appoint whoever they want. It's a qualified person who gets appointed and they go beyond a supervisor position. So we did send it up to civil service to get them started on that. And
How about, what do we have, that one item left?
we have that one thing, but before we do that, and now that Chris is here, we can hold off and wait and still speak. We're not going to make a decision on this tonight, but you all got, and if you don't still have your copy of the Space Need Municipal Study that Rick Alfondri did back in 2007. We all got it the night that they came here. So I need you to all sort of look through it. Stacy and I are going to go through it at, she has to review it a little bit more, and I have to review it a little bit more, but the Municipal Space Committee that we reassigned is asking us to hire Rick Alfondri to do an update on this study. Whether we really need it or not, I'm not sure, so I want everybody to read through it, and then we'll wait to see what Stacy has to say. So just here's I'm not putting this on for tonight, but here's the proposal. You guys will have this. If you need more copies, let me know and I'll make you copies. So read the municipal space study, and then we'll make a decision, and I'll put it on the agenda for possibly next week, to see how we want to move forward with it.
And that's a fixed fee, as you can see on page 2.
Yeah, it's a fixed fee, and but we have the study, so how much of the study, one of the things Stacy sort of said was they had put in, back in 2007, a 10% growth factor, so we might be at that 10%, so do we just put 10% on going forward? So read through it, and then we'll see what we really need to do and how we need to proceed.
Right.
And so, Chris, I did explain to everybody, I hope all's okay with you, I did explain to everybody what you were asking us to do, and then we said we would just hold off on doing anything to another night when you were here. So the question is, do you guys want to talk about it now while Chris is here? Maybe it's better because we have you, we don't know what's going to happen. I was going to say because we don't know what's going to happen in the next week or two. So looking at this, Chris, you said to take out $60,000 for the new mower, and you think you can get along by fixing the mower and living without a new mower for this year.
I have to do $8,000 worth of repairs to it, but once I do that, I can get through that year.
Chris, which mower was that? Was that in your,
That's the new one.
was that in your, that was in the, that's top of your head, is that the 5110? Like that's on your
Yes,
equipment?
it's 5110.2, and so you can read that monstrosity of a page.
I can, no, it's actually excellent. Believe it or not, I'm actually fine with it.
And what's really good is you can actually identify everything I took out.
I absolutely can.
Which is like
I
your
have no
comment
problem
that,
with
which
this.
is just like when you said to Chris the other day, I could see 1,000 times since he said no to you.
Here's a cleaned up version if you want.
If that's really, if you read it right, right?
If I read it right, yeah.
So I have to double check that it's,
Chris, does the village have a machine like this?
For mower or leaf?
Leaf.
No.
Would they have any interest in splitting this with us?
I did talk to Blue about it, very limited. The problem is, I don't think one machine is going to be able to do all of us.
The problem is they do have a machine, it's of a, if I can speak right there, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a smaller size than what we're looking at.
The idea is for us to do leaf pickup in the town, it takes 5 guys, 3 months. And I broke that down in a cost. The reason it takes 5 people, other than the village, is that most of our leaves are on the other side of the ditch line. So you have a truck driver, you have a man working the wand, and you have at least 2 people using rakes, plus a flagger. This is all day, 8 hours a day, plus the breakdowns, plus whatever people rake up in their leaf pile that they shouldn't have. Plus we pick up in our leaf piles that shouldn't because it's in a ditch line, it's not on blacktop. So we keep blowing apart the machine. Last time somebody threw a huge piece of metal into the pile that it took out the new $700 impeller, the engine, and the casing. All the dust from this wound up ruining the radiator and the internal heating components in the dump truck that it's in. The dump truck that we use for plowing. So we usually have to go right up to almost the snow, convert the truck back to a plow truck, and then go on with that. This past winter, it was a bad winter, that plow truck spent a lot of time in the garage because we had no heat, or it was overheating. We wound up replacing the radiator, parts of the dashboard, so it was problematic.
How is the new machine not going to have the same kind of
The new-
breakdown?
Well, the new machine, I can show you a picture of it, is designed just for this. The motor isn't hard mounted to the impeller, it's mounted with belts. It's a one-man operation, so it takes out the other 4 people. It's also a bigger truck. We use a 10-yard hopper. This is a 20-yard, so it cuts out our trips back and forth. It's not a big deal doing the service. I mean, even put the 5 guys out doing it, even though the cost is over $100,000
For the 5 guys.
for the 5 guys for the 3 months. It came to,
That's this past 2013?
yeah. When you factor in, and before me, and you might be out there, they actually used to have to do it with overtime. They'd have guys come in on weekends. Problem is we tried the bags, and the bags are working fairly well.
Plastic bags?
No,
What we're doing,
biodegradable
we're talking
bags.
about this year.
What we had to do this year.
But, yeah, why don't you just explain what we had to do this year so Kevin can,
Okay, this
he
year,
hasn't been getting, he hasn't.
this
been
year we don't
getting
have the
checks.
leaf machine because I refuse to pay $8,000 for a machine that's going to last us for a season. We're up to our 3rd machine. It's $24,000 in equipment that we get no return on, that we just keep having to replace. And again, 5 guys. It's the man hours which kill us. So we went to bags. We're giving each residence 10 bags free to start them off. They can put out as many bags as they want, as often as they want, up to the first snowstorm, and then, of course, no one's going to be picking up any leaves. Some people, this has been not a problem. For other people, we are just the devil.
I actually
It's-
got another call today.
Okay,
that was somebody-
it's not the problem that they're upset with us, it's the problem you get with the ones, I'm just gonna rake it into the ditch and you'll have to deal with it. Now, when the leaves are in the ditch backs up, especially once you get snow in it, it starts to ruin the road. So it's costing you, this one service which has caused us money, and then the residents who don't wanna do anything, it's gonna cost us even more money down the road in road damage.
So the machine that you're looking at, is it a used machine or a new machine?
To cut the cost down, the back of the machine, the actual leaf machine part of it, is brand new. The chassis is a used chassis.
So is it,
Where did you find this?
I found it at a company in Virginia. I actually went and looked at one in the city of Poughkeepsie. And he took a short street, probably about 30 houses, and one driver did the street within 30 minutes. Again, it's designed for this. This will help us in the long run with cleaning up our ditches. Cherry Hill with a lot of blacktop ditches. So to get the leaves out of the blacktop ditch, we go up and we'd suck out the ditch, which was why the first machine was bought. I bought the very first leaf machine working for the town of New Paltz under Bob Tompkins. The reason we bought it was so we didn't have to manually rake our ditch lines out. So, again, we could save time. And somewhere, I'm sure politically, that's morphed into we're doing leaf pickup. New Paltz is one of the only towns that still does leaf pickup. Kingston just passed a law not too long ago that it has to be in bags. If you put piles out on the road, you're fined for it. Hurley has given it up. The cost is large.
So
And we're spending $500,000 almost.
So
You spent $140,880 last year.
that's just a manpower.
That's manpower,
Not counting-
equipment.
So on this, are you getting all the options?
No,
So what's the total cost?
94,000.
no, $84,000.
Did you say 10?
Is that, did you talk to him about trying to do a little better?
Yeah, I've taken out 2 of the options on it. and the Doing the Better was coming down with a used chassis. Now, the used chassis price he gave me was the most we would pay for a chassis. That'll probably be a little bit less, but it's hard to say.
And can he deliver it without charging us the delivery?
Well, that'll be, we might be able to do it without delivery if I go out and pick it up.
The original cost, Kev, when I spoke about it tonight, the cost that Chris had given me was 94,000. So he's now saying 84. 84.
Maybe a little better than that. So how much room do you have in your budget to absorb this? You said you were getting rid of the mower, right?
I took out a mower, it was $66,500.
Well, you took out the mower for 60,000, and then you took out the skid steer attachment
For $6,500.
Now, one of the things because of Laura right now, we asked Laura, who needed a skid steer, to take it, she put it in for next year's 2015 budget, because the budget was just so demanding this year. She saved money on a piece of equipment on the hopper that she bought, and so basically we told Laura that we wanted her to buy it this year and take it out of next year's budget. So she actually just gave us a bid thing for us to go out and bid for the skid steer. So I said to her, if she needed the skids, you needed to use her skid steer, that was not a problem. So I don't know if that helps you or doesn't, or...
Well, we have the skid steer. The skid steer is an attachment. It's a sweeper attachment for it. We have the sweeper contract in there if that's left within the budget. That's to do our street sweeping. Normally what we do is, which is just ridiculous, is we've gone out and we've swept the whole town, 120 lane miles worth of road, with a skid steer sweeper. It's just not made for that. Last year we were able to borrow the villages. Problem is, but a lot of this stuff is the same time we're doing it, the village needs to do it. Where we luck out is we were able to borrow it still during freezing weather, because we can park it in a heated garage where the village can't. So we're able to charge all the water lines, get it back to the barn at the end of the night, and keep it warm. So we were able to use that for quite a bit until things warmed up and the village said, okay, I need my sweeper back. That, too, and why we're using it, we replaced the brooms for them, which is only fair. But their sweeper's getting very old. Last time I had to go halves on an injection pump. Pretty soon I'm going to wind up having to pay even more.
How does this factor into sweeping?
It doesn't. It's with the question about the skid steer sweeper broom. Has nothing to do with the sweeper part. Has nothing to do with leaves.
Okay, so
No, just trying to see where he's taking money out of.
He's taking money from the skid steer. He's taking the skid steer out of his budget. And so now...
So what are you trying to find to make up this difference?
Well, before we get to that, we just need to understand, because he's taking the skid steer out. Now, you put the skid steer attachment in...
It's just the skid steer attachment.
And that was to do what?
That was to augment our sweeping. What you do is the contract has someone comes in and they do all the long roads.
And does that have to be done? You have to clean the roads in order to get the dirt out of there?
Get the dirt, get the dust,
so when you do
get
the
everything
repaving-
down, which is a big, well, it's just... Depending on how bad of a winter, it's just like a fog when you drive.
Okay.
It's not every town does it.
Okay.
You've got to clean up after winter.
Okay.
Unless we switch to straight salt, and that's then we get out of that because the salt dissipates. There's nothing left. But that's a whole nother. That's something we're also working on.
So the sweeper contract with operator, though, that 10,000, you definitely still need then. That we can't take out.
Yeah, the sweeper contract we need.
Okay, so now if you wanted to buy the skid steer to help augment what we do to sweep.
No, the skid steer attachment.
Right.
We have one. It's in bad shape, but I'll get through with another season with it, I hope. Otherwise, we'll be doing the cul-de-sacs with a broom. Which, don't laugh, because we've done it. It's been done for many years. But we had a long talk with the mechanic. We sat down, we went through all the pieces of equipment together, looked at what we could fix, what we could re-weld, what we could rebuild ourselves, and we figured this was the best way to go.
So then the question is right now, then, before you told me that we had to come up with 17,500,
Still that.
but now we probably need to come up, yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Still 17.
Yeah, I'm
He
trying
says
to
he
figure
has
out how,
67 that he's moving out, and that leaves 17.
but what I'm just trying to understand is I don't understand how, when he was taking out 65, he needed 17,500, and now that it's down to 84,000, how he could still need 17,000?
Well, 84 less 66, 67 now,
You know,
Oh, you've got my budget.
17.
then the first, when you told me you needed 17, that couldn't be correct. Or you said,
If you take out the mower,
right, and you said
take out the skid steer
which is
attachment,
65,000.
subtract the difference between that and the 84,000, that leaves you with 17,500.
No, I know, it's just that when you sent me the email, when it was 94,000, you said you needed
We dug
17,000.
in,
No, I'm just saying, but when you sent me the email at 94,000, you said you still needed 17,500. So that's why I was just,
then the 9 was an error, it should have been an 8.
So the only other place Chris does have a little bit of money, and I won't ask you to guarantee it, Chris, but I'll ask Susan to guarantee it. She just needs to make a guarantee that it does not snow or get an ice storm between now and December 31st.
but nobody understood.
Well, if Susan can guarantee that,
but
but you do have a balance in that, about 30,000.
But the thing is,
Snow,
this
actually,
is,
snow
this is-
Yeah, it's probably not up to date because we just brought in 200 ton of salt.
Well, no, it's not too far off. Actually, I even dropped it by about 5, because I know you did just get how much was the salt, do you know, Bill? I just took 5 off.
17,000.
but the
Oh,
thing-
17, so
17,000.
15. So
if you
you're,
didn't buy the salt, we would have had the money.
Yeah, well,
so believe it or
if
not,
you can guarantee me a weather like this all summer or winter, we're good.
Let me call God. Hold on.
Is any of this allocated to any other?
well, Chris, that's the, well, no,
Will
but
it be allocated to?
No.
any
this is
other fund?
DBB because we're taking highway, so
But
it
this
has
is-
this is DBB,
But
but Chris,
the thing is, this is for the 2015 budget, it's not 2014.
Correct.
So it's a 2015 budget now,
Right.
because this is a used chalice and,
Chassis.
or chalice or whatever, it's used, blah, blah, blah. Is that a particular piece, and will it be available next
Yes.
year?
so Chris, the other thing
This is a common thing for them
Okay.
municipalities who cannot afford, I mean, otherwise this thing's $140,000 to $170,000. So
Okay, that's
that
what
was
they-
the way of it, is it right? Even tried using one of the discussion about possibly bonding a new dump truck. I went out and I asked them, okay, can I supply the chassis? Because it's only used for the 3 months or 4 or 5, depending on what we're doing. And unfortunately, the cost of moving, we'd have to stretch the frame, move the axles back, and the cost of that was more than a used chassis would be. We have to put twin steering in it, so you can drive from your left side or your right side. That was more money than just saying,
So
okay,
now we're
find
trying
us
to-
a chassis.
So what are we trying to find,
Are you using
17,000 or
this
10,000?
in any of the
We're
sewer
trying to
districts?
find out?
well,
Not in the sewer, we will be using it
if you take the
for some catch basin cleaning, but that's really not, that has nothing to do with the sewer districts.
Well, I just want to know if there's a possibility of allocating the cost
The snow line.
among any of the funds that benefit from the
Yeah, but
use.
we still have to
Yes?
do now.
It's all out of highway.
Okay.
Potential snow.
You got 18,000.
Well,
A
how
single
could-
storm could cost you 18,000.
Yeah, it's,
That's the bad ice.
plus, you have to remember, the last, in that money, there's still fuel. Fuel usually comes out for there.
Well, that's, no, this is
Out of the
just
snow.
a snow line.
now for
And I know
DB,
you did a great job. of
We had
controlling
a bad, I mean, the end of the winter, the last storm is the one that killed us. We were doing fine until we got 2 foot of snow and that just
Yeah.
destroyed us.
the problem is, in the DB,
We're not the only ones.
the remaining fund
But you're getting
balance is
salt from,
9%.
like, Long Island?
Actually,
We're using
it comes from
45.
overseas.
Remaining
It's
is
brought in with
160.
Ships down to the port of Newark
Using 45,
or
remaining is
Elizabeth, and they
160.
bring it up.
Only using 45
They say
in
it's
DB?
cheaper to do that than it is to mine it out of Pennsylvania. They're probably buying it for $1 a ton and shipping it for probably $2.
So DB, we're taking
Versus mining it
232,000, no,
in the state.
45,000
And
for,
all the fun laws that go along with that.
Is
Just
this
sticking it
treated?
on a change car.
Is this treated salt or?
No. That is something we're looking at. What we're eventually going through, I'm looking at systems now, is to go to a straight treated salt. What that does is it cuts us down. It takes all the expense of the stone dust out of the equation. It also cuts our salt down to, I think it's 120 pounds per lane mile treated. Now the idea of the treated salt, Marlboro is using it, and I kind of use them as a guinea pig, is you pre-treat your road with this, and they call it sticky salt. You ride down the center, so you're only treating, instead of like us, we treat both sides of the road. Here you treat the center of the road. The idea is the salt will stay there. It's got a lower freezing point. As it melts off, it melts the center of the road off. So let's say we're going to get a snowstorm tonight. You pre-treat the road. The salt stays on there. The road will clean up enough for people to drive. Cut your overtime. I don't have to have the crews come in 4 hours ahead of time. I can have them come 2 hours. Because we're not pushing off the centers, we're pushing off the edges. I got all the chemical compounds, because I actually want to give it to somebody to have them look at it to see what, if any, effect, or, since we're green, if it would be an issue. But it's being used right now in Marlboro, and they love it. So we're looking into that. And again, it'll take out the total. We'll bring down our salt costs. The equipment that we have can be retrofitted for this. We'll cut our overtime costs down, and we'll cut our cleanup costs down in the spring if we're just using the salt, so there's no more stuff to pick up. Now, I have been, I know this, I've said it before, this hazardous mitigation grant. I can get a full-blown, brand-new sweeper out of those. Talk to a Paltz, $230,000 piece of machinery. Except, I just can't get through it, our grant writer.
Yeah, he's been very sick.
I know he's been sick, but that's
Yeah, no, I know.
that's something that
We'll have to
we're
deal with, yeah.
been trying to deal with to get going, because it's going to take a year, 2 years, possibly 3
To get the grant cycle.
to get the grant cycle. But they pay 100%, and there's other towns that have gotten it.
Actually, what, can you, we know that the other town that got it, if we can just get
No,
a
the
copy
grant
of,
writer.
why don't we just get a copy of the grant that was written, and then we could look at it, and then we could download the grant, whatever,
Yeah.
and then we could look at it and see, and then, it might
But
be.
it was interesting, but the person who got them that grant
Is our
was
grants writer.
Victor Cornelius, our grant
Right,
writer.
right.
They, when I went out to look for a sweeper, they're like, you want to talk to this guy, because he's the one who can get it for you.
And it was Victor.
And it was
So
Victor.
the question, the question is, get a copy of the grant that Victor submitted, okay? And then, let's, download the application and see when it is, if it's rolling or if there's a date that's coming. I will try to get in touch with Victor again. I had spoken with him, and, he is accessible, although he's down in the city for treatment and stuff, but maybe, I don't know where he's at right now because I haven't heard from him. So let's see how we can follow up. And if we get the grant that was already done and submitted, it might just mean some tweaking.
Okay.
So I'll do that, but.
Also on this, you'll notice there was a discount for this NJPA, National Joint Powers Alliance. This is what all the towns are starting to use now. I gave Jeff some paperwork.
I remember seeing that.
I was told by Joe Moriello that we would have to pass a local law for piggybacking of these bids. So
What's this?
It's almost like a buying group.
correct. Yeah. And even our OGS has numbers now with NJPA, because they got less, NJPA got more. It's kind of the new reign, we'll say. And the savings are substantially. Even Laura's in their skid steer was, that was part of NJPA. The new mower that was in the budget that will probably be taken out or whatever, that was through NJPA.
But then I don't understand why we have to do it.
We have to pass Joe said we have to pass a local law to allow piggybacking.
Because it's not considered state bid.
No. There's the state actually believes it's that, and there was some paperwork to go along with that from the state, of the law that was passed or the resolution. But he did say that some local towns, a good portion of them, do their own local law to allow that. So with your permission, I'd like to hand this over to Joe.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm a little confused. We already bought a skid steer under this.
No.
We didn't. Well, I thought you just said that we.
No, I've gotten quotes under that bid.
Oh, but I still don't understand. So I still don't understand. I mean, we go to OGS. I just don't understand.
It's not on OGS. You can't pick up this or her skid steer or other things and go, here's a number on OGS for it. But they do have it on NJPA. And they're similar.
But why do we have to do a local law to be able to?
This is what Joe told me.
So you run afoul with the bidding process. That's my understanding.
Okay, but let's just. I'm not adverse to doing it, except we all know that a local law costs money. Like Jeff always is, loves to talk about the cost of
But
doing
we
a
can
local
say
law.
that local laws that save money, I think I could agree with a lot quicker than ones
Although I
that make
guess-
it more
Well, he
onerous.
said it was very simple. It wasn't some, and I don't know all about it, but it
Do you
wasn't.
know what town that has a local law like that?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what town that has one?
Didn't Marlboro just purchase something
Yeah, but they don't, I don't believe they have a local law.
If you-
I can find out,
So
I
I
don't
guess-
know.
You know how they did it?
Copy of their local one,
Yeah.
right?
The only thing I was just gonna say is, I mean, the other reason I guess I'm asking the questions, and I'm not adverse to doing it by any means, it's just that, in other words, if it's a bidding process, so you get that bid, you call up two other places, you get, two other verbal bids, that comes in cheaper, you've just satisfied your need to go out for a bid, so why do you have to do a local law? That's the only thing I don't understand.
So this is a way of,
I mean,
you
if
can
it showcases the fact that
the
you
bidding
just,
process from here to Michigan. If you find, the equipment, you might not find like a JCB or a Caterpillar, on an OGS here, but you more than likely will find it that the town or the city of Minnesota got an OGS or an NJPA bid on it, and you can piggyback it off of that and still get the same deal from your local dealer here.
okay, so why don't you, I mean, I have no problem with him forwarding this to Joe and just getting it going, because, I mean, you wanna buy your skid steer, you have stuff you wanna buy,
Well, you said it
that's,
made sense too, though, we couldn't just get the 3 quotes, or would have to come in. Should ask him about that, I mean, that made perfect sense.
Well, for that type of money, though, you gotta get more than verbal, or you need to go out to bid?
You have to go out to
You have
bid.
to go out to bid.
for those kind of things.
Yeah, you can't get 3, I mean, you can get it, but if you go over $10,000, you're getting
Okay.
3.
So then why don't you send that to Joe? Absolutely, if you can send it to Joe and ask him to start just working on it,
Okay.
so we can adopt it before you go buy anything.
Well, it wouldn't be until 2015,
When
so
do you
Right.
need this leaf machine?
Well,
next
it's in,
fall.
Next fall?
Mhm.
so it's just a matter of right now, he, in
Then
order
again,
to,
I'm sorry, I've been
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt. Depending on how many people decide just to throw the leaves in the ditch line, probably in the spring. We're gonna have to clean up for summer.
now let me ask you a question.
So you
I
think, yeah.
Well, the thing is, what we have to do is if we decide we're gonna go down this road, we have to either put another $17,000 into his line, or find a way, or not put the money in, put it in here and just hope we just save money in snow or something next year.
Well, we
But-
could put in the difference.
Well, so the question is, well, there's no difference, it's a matter of taking,
Or you're right, we could take what's in there and move it to another line.
no, we can take it, like, in other words, leave the budget
About
as it is,
67.
leave the budget as it is, next year let them go bid for this, get it, and then just assume that we might save money someplace in the budget. But this is only $800, but right now in your budget for brush and weeds, you have $800 for recyclable leaf bags for full cleanup. So if you get this machine,
We could take those out.
you can take that $100 out.
Yes,
So that's
that's
$800.
even more.
So there's $800 we just saved,
No, but I think he'll drive other efficiencies, which will make up for it next year.
I mean, just the first year, if you look into manpower, we'll save $30,000 in the first season that we use it.
but when you say save 30,
That's only in manpower.
no, I
Manpower
understand that, but
hours.
we're still paying the guys.
Yeah, see,
they're-
here's the problem with
I'm
leaf.
just saying that we pay personal services anyway,
Mhm.
so I'm not gonna see that 30,000 saving, you're just gonna
No,
use
no,
those men
no.
doing something else.
I'm equating it
Yeah.
to, we can actually go out and do highway work.
There's other points too.
Yes.
But
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would rather go out and prep the roads for the
No,
fall.
I understand that, I'm just saying
you
it's
know,
not
for winter,
$30,000
which we
that we
can't
now
do
have
now.
to pay, that's all. So, we just have to figure out how we want to, if,
Well, I'm in favor of getting this piece of equipment. Sounds like it's going to be necessary, and you'll be able to drive efficiency next year so that we won't have a $17,000 delta. I'm sure you'll be able to do that.
So,
We might even be able to move some money this year, Chris, and maybe,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to wait a little bit more and see what the weather brings us.
well, it doesn't have, it's not gonna be bought this year anyway.
Right, but we'll
Yeah.
have funds though that we could.
I think we
move.
can, I think we can, what's the word? Assign, that money, like in other words, reserve that money, and so it gets allocated to next year, but there's a way that the auditor bookkeeps it. So, if everybody feels comfortable and wants to just leave the budget as it is and not add 20,000 more in, with the, again, with the understanding of, we'll financially make it all work, we can do that,
Yeah, I think.
or out of the 273 that we're gonna add back in, we could take the 17,000 and just
If you didn't want to change the paperwork, you leave it like it is, and I just request a budget modification, like, or equipment modification like that.
Oh, no, we can. The problem is we just have to have the money. I mean, right now, the budget is $17,000 short in terms of what you're estimating everything. So it's not just doing a budget modification per se.
I just meant procedurally for me in the 2015, not the actual dollar amount.
Well, it wouldn't be really necessarily budget modification because it still would be coming out of your equipment. It's just you're using different.
But I've always requested
we're buying,
change.
but what's in your worksheet is not, it doesn't matter.
No, I
what's in-
understand that.
What's
I
in the
just-
worksheet, you're not making a switch from one line to another, that's when you need the modification.
Mhm.
It's within your line, you're just changing what kind of equipment you have to buy.
No, I get that, I've
It's the
always,
extra money.
if I've changed anything, if I
Yeah.
say I'm gonna buy a mower and I buy a truck, I've always made sure that everyone's on the same.
Oh, right,
that
right.
You know as a board, okay, I've changed my mind, this is
Oh.
what I'm doing, and you're approved.
Well, we have to do
You
that.
really don't have to approve it, it's in my budget, but
No, because every authorization for anything that gets purchased, it comes through me before you're allowed to purchase it, remember? We have a policy in place. Well, I just want to know if you guys you want to just move forward, not change anything right now, and let's see where we're at again before we end up adopting the budget. And then if we think that we've got some money that we could reserve, and I'll talk to the outside auditor about how to make sure we do it the right way. We could try to reserve some money from Chris's budget, move it next year, cover it. If we've got to take some money out of the 273 and just allocate it as an expense, we'll do that. But again, that'll be on our bucket list of things we have to do to move things around with the budget before we adopt it.
That's fine.
So is that okay with everybody? Okay.
I think we're gonna definitely need an expenditure detail though to do that, because Chris is pretty tight on the whole DVB budget.
No, he's I looked at his
You're
numbers to
very,
see.
very tight on it. Like I said, the snow is the big one. And Chris, have you spent any other big garage expenditures, do you know?
no,
Do you have any 40 years out, you think, on that?
I'm sorry.
Garage?
I just
Yeah,
looked
garage
at,
line,
I just
Yeah,
looked
do
at
you
all
think
the
you have a
stuff
lot?
and
Do you have a
nothing's
lot
as far
of
as expenditures,
this year, yeah.
no, shouldn't be.
Because that gives us there's about, you got about 8,000 left in that.
Those will change too, because, like in the 5110, all the money for, which we handed the mods into Arlene for the pavilion, the parking lot down at Town Hall, or down at the new Town Hall, all those came out of the 5110 line, so I think there's over $17,000 to go back in that line from, part of it's Parkland Fund and part of it is the Building Reserve Fund.
5110, you're really tight on for the year. That's pretty much,
Yeah,
it looks like you're going to spend that down. The garage one, the 5132, you might not
Yeah,
spend that.
not too much more, that actually should come back to, just under 40,000
Okay, so I
for
think,
2 months.
I think between
Once we pay back the
5132
loan.
and 5110, I think, Chris, we're going to be, I think we'll have 18,000
Where
that
is
we
he?
can transfer.
Where is he though?
Yes, I
on his
believe you're right.
What's the bottom?
Total his, they do a DVB total,
Yeah,
right on, I mean, he's dead on. He's
Okay.
86%, but
Because I'm
again,
only
there's
just-
been some money moved around and.
We moved, today, we requested $10,000 out of 5110, we moved into machinery line. He's, unfortunately, the 22-year-old truck and the 24-year-old truck needed a lot of repair.
Now, you had those on schedule though for
Well, this was a discussion we had about 2015 going out to bond for
replacement.
another truck to replace one of the oldest truck.
now, the only thing is, remember, if he ends up spending his whole entire line, then he'll spend the $120,000 of the fund balance we used to budget his line.
Yeah.
So, then next year, so we're looking to be, he's at 160. Now this year we're only using, okay, we're only taking 45 this year. Last year, we took 50. Okay, and we have 160. So everywhere that shows 9%, because it looks like we're somewhat okay. I think we're okay. We're okay.
I think no, I think Chris is fine. Chris, I don't even think the trailers are going to even put you over.
And then, of course, we're going to get the 50,000 back, hopefully. So I guess we're okay for the moment.
Well, the trailers shouldn't be coming out of any of my lines, correct?
No.
The trailer's not coming out of your lines.
Nope, no, not talking about. Actually, the paving I thought was, or no?
No, actually, the really amazing,
I thought we were taking the
exactly,
paving, I think the paving came out of the
Because it's a
We
labor.
took paving out of Parklands for the pavilion, all that work up there,
No.
at about 5110.
yeah.
Where'd that come out of?
5110,
Okay.
roads and repairs, so that we have a
We have to charge back,
charge back.
so
And the,
that'll go back into that line.
yeah, and the prep for the town hall. Not all of it,
Mhm.
but a portion of
Yeah.
it.
No, Jeff is talking about the paving.
I thought
that
you were
did
paying, I
for
thought we
parking
were
for town
charging.
hall, but because it's the highway
I
garage,
thought DBB, we were charging that to you, the paving and for that.
I thought it was coming out of reserve. I mean, if there's enough numbers in there and it doesn't kill the line, then that can be done.
so again, we'll see
Yeah.
as we progress, and, I mean, you will see in the thing, we created a town hall, under buildings and grounds, we created an extra line to keep track of what we're spending for the town hall relocation. You know, just so we can keep on top of it, just so we know what's being charged to that line, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, even though it's coming out of contingency, but we're trying to, keep track of the expenses.
And most of that is, the external plumbing we had to do out of the building.
Actually,
Some
when you think
site
about it,
prep, wiring.
it's really pretty, I was talking to the rescue squad today about it, and it's really pretty remarkable what we're paying, like $3,500 a year for 6,000 square feet, it's pretty great, but, no, it's not that, it's more, no, it's like 3,011. It's still pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's just, it's really, it's like $30,000, so it's like $35,40
Yeah,
for the rental, but the expense is bringing it down and taking it back. That's the
it's set up
expense.
and removal.
Right.
So when you look at all,
Yeah.
it's a different number.
It's definitely a different number, but it's still not, bad in terms of what we're getting.
But Susan getting $50,000 from
Right.
Yeah.
a local representative certainly helped a lot from the center. That did not hurt one bit.
Not at all.
And they
Yeah.
should be done today, just if you wanted a small update. They were still down there working when I was just there, finishing the interior.
The trailer guys were there still?
Yeah.
Right, and right
They
now,
wanted to be done today.
Oh, wow.
and Central Hudson is coming
Friday.
through.
So it's all right?
Yeah, looks good. It needs, get a few things in there you won't even, shouldn't even know. I have some questions about some bathrooms that I'll ask later if you want hooked up or not, and tomorrow I get to climb underneath the trailers most of the day and figure out the plumbing, so it should be interesting.
But Jeff, you actually went in and saw them, right?
Yes,
You thought they were pretty-
it looks amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
As long as you're not
Get a chance to go out
claustrophobic for your office, Jeff, you'll be fine.
And what you went,
It's a
I
bathroom.
went there yesterday.
and what'd you think?
It's a little smaller.
Really? Hopefully everybody will be a lot happier and healthier.
I thought the space looked great. It also has 2 cutouts, it looks like, for handicap accessible. There are some low points in the counter there. Yeah, in yours, it looks like it'll be much more friendly for handicap accessible. They'll be able to get in there. Chris had, when we were there, they were working on the front ramps.
That's all done.
That's all done. When I
Yeah,
was there,
that's
they
all
were
done. That's
working
it.
on huge ramps still. And you can almost drive a truck up them. They were.
No, they actually are small. I'd save us a lot of money, actually,
It's
because
because of the way they did
we
the,
dropped the units to keep the height down,
they
so the
were
ramps
saving
didn't
a
have to be as
ton of
long.
money on the ramps.
They didn't have the railings up when I was out there, so that's
Okay,
why it looked like
they're
were-
all up.
Oh,
They
good.
made it so we could back a truck up to offload our files into them without having to go around.
They had the file units out back the door, the free units, that
2,
2 of them that Susan also
Yeah.
negotiated. And Kevin, thank you.
I believe.
For the fee.
They'll
you
all
for
be
the free
wired up
units.
for electric tomorrow. We had to wait for some
And you could
parts.
do stone in between. or
which I
paint in
which I have
between.
to-
Yeah,
which I
we
have
had to do a little
to-
drainage work, and I have a problem with septic. That was the units are low to save us some money, so I had to put in a forced septic system to pump it over to the tank.
Which
So,
is not the
Wasn't
worst
it
of
was
things.
no, it's
No.
not the worst thing. So
And I
we're-
do have to say that Central Hudson really came through for us because there ended up being, they had first estimated what needed to be done, we did it all, but then they had to replace a pole and it was gonna set us back like 6, 7, 8 weeks. So I got on the phone and sort of basically said, do you know what's going on and do you know what's really happening and you gotta do something? And they ended up moving things around and they are coming out tomorrow to get this done so we can stay on schedule. So Friday. Well, if it doesn't rain, they're gonna come tomorrow, I think.
Oh,
But if it rains, they plan on coming tomorrow, but they expect rain, so they're coming Friday,
no.
and stuff. But they really ended up coming through for us, so that was really good, because we thought we were gonna get really
Yeah, it'd be nice to have power.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, when I was out there, they were working by flashlight and extension
Yeah, we're
cords.
backfeeding, we're backfeeding a few things and, doesn't work out too well all the time.
Get a little electric burn there? Yeah.
so
That
pretty
was the
soon,
best.
pretty soon we'll be driving up to Clearwater Road to go to work.
Yep, put a tollway zone in my parking space, so we're good.
So I don't know if we have anything else other than the action that we need to take on the liquor license. So, so basically, why don't we make the motion, then we can discuss it so we can explain it again. So Kevin, do you want to move it?
Do you have the,
I do.
You know, are we like villages also where you need to yearly review your liquor licenses, or is that village? Do you know, why does the village review their liquor licenses yearly? Did you know they did that?
Well, they're supposed to, but I don't.
Once a year, they bring in their liquor license holders in their community, in the village, and they review them at the village board meeting, and then take a vote to.
Susan, can I have that?
Sure.
Is it, Dan, are they actually allowing a renewal, or
Well,
do you know?
the only reason why I remember this is you remember there was that issue with Mahoney's West that
Right.
we're talking like
And I
4 or
was
5
actually at a
years
meeting
ago.
one time when they were doing, they don't do them all in one night, they do them over several meetings.
And I actually often reference that story because I recall someone asking, because they were talking about it, one of the students, and they said, well, you know, what kind of bar is that? And he goes, well, you know, it's only a freshman bar. And I remember, I don't even remember who said it, said, can you tell me how old freshmen are? You know, 18, 19. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Point being,
And
it's
they
not
ended
legal
up
to drink at
losing
18.
their license.
Hence why Dean Tuscany's not allowed
Oopsie.
to all liquor license.
Roseanne, do you have the exact name of the entity?
Los Agaves, Inc.
Oh, wait, can we borrow that from you? Yeah, here, Kevin can probably make more of this.
Right, that's how I'm
There you go. So anyway, what they might just do as a practice in the village, or is that part of liquor law? Or Kevin, are you familiar enough with liquor law?
Yeah, it's just a notice, so,
Why are they reviewing them every year?
well, I don't know why the village does that.
I only remember it that one time. I don't know if it was a year
They
later.
do a yearly thing, because I happened to be there one night when I believe Bacchus was there, and one
This
other
is
was
the only
there.
one.
So far.
They had two of them there.
Right,
First
it seems
They
like
have
it's
so
like
much.
First one.
Could be, yeah, I don't
We don't
know.
have.
Yeah, I don't know enough about liquor law,
It's
so.
like 3,000.
How about this?
The
So,
amount should be on
I
there.
have a motion that the board approve a waiver to be executed by the supervisor or the deputy supervisor, waiving the 30-day waiting period for the applicant Las Agaves, Inc., from the requirement under ABC Law Section 64, Subdivision 2A1, which requires them to file with the town their notice of intent to file an application for a liquor license. Without the waiver, there would be a 30-day hold. We're authorizing the supervisor or the deputy supervisor to sign the waiver so that the application can proceed without a 30-day hold.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
2 paragraphs.
Dan seconded, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you go. I wish them a lot of luck. I hope Los
Should head on?
Agaves, not Los.
Los?
Los. Los, So Los would be feminine, I believe, and Los would be masculine.
We have anything else on the agenda? Is that it?
I get authorization to go out to bid for that skid steer.
Authorization for a skid steer?
Well, it depends, do we need to do this local law before you can go do the skid
I think
steer?
we should go to bid on it, get the price, and then we can talk to Joe Moriello about it. I think we're good to talk to Joe Moriello about it, go out to bid and,
Okay,
Yeah.
so I gave
You didn't really
everybody a copy.
understand it. I had to send more paperwork.
Yeah.
I'll do that now that I have
and we'll
permission to do
discuss
so.
it with,
Okay.
and we'll also discuss it, I can do it with you tomorrow, we'll call Joe.
Okay, well, Laura did, I passed this out at the beginning of the meeting before you got here, Laura. I made copies for everybody
Yeah.
and everybody got their copy,
I don't think
right?
so.
No, I gave it to everybody, but,
Did you get one of these?
yeah, I gave it to them, but then maybe because I have more than I shouldn't, no, you have it, Kevin.
Kevin, okay, Kevin does have,
So,
I just
Sue,
think
do you
it,
have a
I was,
motion?
Well, So does somebody want to make a motion to authorize Laura to go out for the skid steer?
So, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. And Chris just handed me that he was requesting a prepay before the regular warrant in November for Doug Whitaker, who's been doing all the work to help us move and whatever. And this is from when he first did his first test and whatever that we've never authorized. So it's $3,348.75. So I'll make the motion to do a prepay for Doug Whitaker. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, and it's professional services for town hall air quality mold testing, as well as several meetings regarding cleaning, developing the bid packages for cleaning work scope, IT, and phone issues. So he's been doing a lot of work helping Stacy and Chris get us through this. So I have a motion.
Seconded.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion so carried. So you signed it, and I guess I just need to.
You took my pen.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion?
Motion so carried. All in favor? Okay, so can you, so this is
Laura,
for.
you just need to fill in the
You'll give
bid
Charlene.
Orlean, yeah.
the bid